Hey, what's good, y'all? This is Pastor B. The most difficult trauma that we can encounter and that we face is from inside our own families. And so, learning how to deal with that is crucial to a healthy life and even to our walk with God. So, today we're going to talk about how to deal with family trauma, and we're going to look at the documentary from Kirk Franklin as an example and as a talking point. All right. So, if you haven't watched it, pause it right now, go watch it, and then come back so that you can, see what this podcast is going to be about. All right, we're going to jump right into it. So, have a good one, and here we go. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Living from Sunday to Sunday podcast. I'm your host, Pastor B. Thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. I believe that this is going to be the best 15 minutes of your day because real change happens 15 minutes at a time. Be sure to like this podcast, subscribe, and download both on the audio format as well as the video format via YouTube as well. All right. So today we're going to do what I call a retrospective of the Kirk Franklin mini documentary that he released a few days ago entitled Father's Day. It is a documentary that kind of foreshadows his upcoming project. And it also, um, he kind of gives us a history of his his family, how he met his father, his real father, for the first time, and all of the family dynamics and all of the family trauma that was really behind the scenes. Kirk Franklin is, in my opinion, the greatest gospel songwriter ever. God has given him a specific grace of being able to pen words to articulate um, what many people who know God, many people who want to know God, the struggles of our relationship. Kirk Franklin is able to pen um, just like the perfect words, right? For how you're feeling. And so I had heard a lot of buzz about this Kirk Franklin documentary, but I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to see it. And I finally just sat down and watched it. It was about 35 minutes. And it was one of the most powerful, vulnerable documentaries I've ever seen from a black man. Because as black men, we don't enjoy showing our flaws. We don't enjoy really getting a peek behind the curtain and showing who we really are. And I think as Kirk has gotten older, he's really been a lot more um, vulnerable and open about like where he is. And so this particular documentary, it really it pretty much tells the story of him finding out who his real birth father is. For I know a number of years he considered himself adopted, right? Um, he was raised by his grandmother, and I mean I remember he wrote a song on the Silver and Gold album, or Why Do We Sing album. I'm sorry. His first major release, and he wrote a song about his grandmother back then. And it was, you could tell that there was a really personal connection, right? Even back then. But the tragedy of Kirk's life is what these 35 minutes portrayed. And I thought it was so interesting for a man as gifted as man, a man as anointed and as talented as Kirk is, the fact that he was willing to show his vulnerabilities and show the fact that he was upset at the results, I thought was so eye opening. So um mainly what happens is um one of his good friends goes to a funeral in his hometown, and at the funeral, there's this man who is at the funeral, and everyone or this friend looks at this man and it's like, man, he looks just like Kirk Franklin. Um, and it's such a random act, right? It wasn't anything that was planned. All of this happens at a funeral, and so word gets back to Kirk, and they connect, and they run a DNA test. The first DNA test proves and confirms by 99.9% that this man is Kirk Franklin's birth father. Now, again, what was so amazing to me is that Kirk had been searching. Like, this was the one part of his life that was missing, right? And I looked at that and I realized that men, we desire to be loved, man. Um, we desire to be loved, and we need love shown by other men, right? A father figure, a big brother. We need a connection that's deep when it comes to men. And I think what it does is it really helps secure us in our manhood. It kind of centers our purpose, right? If you grow up without any fatherly influence or uncle or anybody, right? As a man, you don't really know the true essence of what it means because um, as men, again, we aren't taught to express ourselves. We don't know how to do it, and so if no one shows you how to express yourself properly, then you'll do it through anger. You'll do it through physical violence, right? And so. As men, it's very important that we connect with other men and that we're humble enough to do that. I'm really really grateful to have my father alive and to grow up under um, him and my mom and my parents, right? And it was a wonderful thing. I didn't always appreciate it, right, growing up, but um, as I get older, I realize that my dad really set a great foundation of what it means to be a man, what it means to be responsible, what it means to love your wife, what it means to be consistent. My dad is a preacher, so he showed me what it was like to be devoted to God and to be committed and to let all of these other things go for the sake of God. Right? I had that example, and so it's so important as men that we have models, that we have some examples, right? And so even though my physical, my father isn't in the same city, we don't live in the same city, but I have other men here where I am that I can look up to and they can hold me accountable, right? Um, and Kurt, man, he just showed his raw emotion when he found out that his birth father was alive, and that because the man that he thought was his dad had passed away, and he was looking for affirmation, looking for comfort from the guy he thought was his dad, and he couldn't really give it to him because there wasn't no real true connection, right? His Kirk's mama, Lord, pray, man. I was watching this documentary and I was so upset that his mom held on to this lie. Like, and please watch it. Because literally after two paternity tests showed that with a 99% accuracy that this guy was Kirk's father. The Kirk's mom would not own up to it, would not confirm it, and Kirk was like, "If you don't give me this, there's no hug, there's no sugar, there's no good words that could ever replace this hurt, right? Because men, we want affirmation, we want to know that we're loved, and unfortunately, man, with Kirk and his mama, he never got it. Like that's one of the things that struck me is that whenever the doctor confirmed the first test that it was 99% positive, he was like, I just talked to my mama and my mama lied to me again. Now, Kirk is 53 years old, man. And, you know, at 53, it's difficult if you've had 50 years without a consistent father in your life, man, that's hard. And so, he's missed out on all of this time mainly because of a lie, right? And what do you do, man, when the people that you're supposed to love hurt you the most? What are you supposed to do when you put your faith and your trust in people who are supposed to be your guardians, who are supposed to be people who are looking after your soul, so to speak, and they're corrupt. Man, there was so much trauma, man, on Kurt's mother's side. His auntie was like you got to call me Sandra, and Kirk was like, all right, well, hey, if you want to do this, it is what it is, but I need to talk to Brenda, which I think was his mom, right? And so it was just so much spite. It was just like so much just angst on that side of his family that that trauma actually passed down to Kirk's interactions with his own son, right? Because I don't know if you guys knew, but maybe about a year and a half ago, man, there was this real, big story with Kirk and his son where his son recorded a conversation with Kirk without Kirk knowing, and Kirk was going in. Kirk was going in all kind of MFs, all kind of words, right? In a heated interaction with his son, and his son recorded it and made it public, right? So there was already some little strife there between them two. But what I loved most and what really kind of tugged at my heartstrings was that the son, whenever Kirk's oldest boy found out that his biological grandfather was alive, all of the tension that they had, all of that tension kind of dissipated for a moment because it's like there was compassion for his father, even though him and his father never really got along, right? Or there was this issue or this grief between them. Man, whenever I see you hurt, I should have some level of compassion, even if we don't agree. If you are desperately hurting and I find out why you're hurting and I find out why you've treated me this way is because you felt abandoned all of this time, even if I don't like what you do, for a moment, there should be some level of compassion. And so, man, that really, really helped me because it's like when people hurt you, it's so easy to lose compassion for them. But it's even more important that we learn how to forgive in spite of the hurt that people cause us, right? Because bitterness and unforgiveness hurts us more than it hurts anyone else. And so to see Kirk's son do that in the moment, even though, again, their issues hadn't been resolved, but in the moment, they were able to kind of work things out. I thought was really, really dope. And then Kirk, being the bigger man, was like, all right, mama, I don't know when I'm gonna ever talk to you again, because again, everything that had happened, like he had set up emotional boundaries. I think there was already some boundaries there anyway, but he opened himself up to allow her to admit to her wrong, and she never did it. And so because of that, Kurt closed that door, locked it, threw away the key. And basically, this part of my heart, this part of my mind, this part of my life, I will never ever trust you again. And it's crazy sometimes how people will manipulate you for so long that a lie becomes the truth. And and you're not willing to embrace the truth because you believed a lie so long. And you're thinking that if I hold on to this lie, I'll hold on to you. But really, the truth is what helps all situations. The truth hurts, but the truth can heal. And people forget that. People want to hold on to a lie thinking that the lie brings them life. And really, the lie is killing them. And it's the truth that makes us free. So, man, the fact that Kirk was bold enough to, because technically he was filming his process of this upcoming album, and all of this transpired during this time frame. And for Kirk to record this and show it to the world, I salute you, Kirk Franklin. And like I posted on Facebook the other day, bro, I get it. For you to have the depth of compassion and the depth of hurt and the depth to be able to articulate pain the way you've done, I get it now. And man, I'm praying for you and your pops, praying for your sons and your children, praying that God just restores the years, man, and redeem the time, because his natural father just seems genuine. He did not know. He genuinely had no idea of what was being done. And so, man, family trauma is difficult to deal with, but we have the ability to do so if we're honest, man. All it takes is one moment of honesty that starts the process of healing. All right. So if you haven't watched it, it's on YouTube. It's called Father's Day. I think it's like Kirk Franklin documentary. It's like 35 minutes long. Go watch it. It'll really give you some insight into who Kirk Franklin is, and share it with the men in your life. Because whether you came up like me in a 2-parent household, or if you didn't have a father in your life, or you have a strained family situation, I think it ministers to everybody. All right. Well, listen, I'm going overtime. Thank y'all so much for listening to today's podcast. Again, this podcast is available everywhere where podcasts can be found. Apple, Spotify, Good Pods, wherever you find us, wherever you listen to your podcast, you can find us there. All right. And also make sure that you check out the show notes for an opportunity to become a paid subscriber to the Living from Sunday to Sunday podcast, for as little as $3 a month. All right. Until next time, y'all have a great day. We'll see you when we see you. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Living from Sunday to Sunday podcast. All episodes are available everywhere where podcasts can be found. Make sure that you like the show, download, and subscribe so you won't miss out on any of the future episodes. Remember, real change happens between Sundays. Talk to you soon.